Well, the day has come for the 24-hour ride. Where it's going to go, I do not know. Anyway, it begins with Park Run in Albury. Here we are at Park Run. 15 minutes till Park Run start. So that means we're about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours, a bit less till the ride starts. Nervous just a little bit about how much pain I'm going to be in. Slept alright last night, which was actually a bonus. Didn't hear any fireworks, which was great. So let's see what happens. And the ride begins.
Yeah. 9 o'clock.
So I'm going to attempt to voice over through a lot of this video on my recollections and what happened. So this is the last lap. I filmed the entirety loop on the last lap. I'll discuss some things that come to mind as we go around the loop and try and remember how I was feeling and how it all went at times. So I'm recording this at 8:30 the evening. I've finished the ride. I've only had 1 hour's sleep all day. Didn't sleep at all last night. So I'm trying to do this now so everything's as fresh as can be. But chances are I'll miss some stuff doing it so soon as well. Anyone ever have any questions or anything about anything that happened, how I felt, what I did? Feel free, whatever platform you're watching this on, to ask questions. So say, this is the beginning of the loop. I did 29 loops. The last 20 were all in the same direction. I think the 4 before that were opposite direction. The 4 or 5 before that were in this direction. So I think I did 4 loops going the other way and 25 loops going this way. It was a hot day, 32 degrees I think, and no cloud cover, so full sun apart from spots that were shaded. As you can see, there are shady spots along the way. There's a lot of stretches in full sun as well, depending on time of day. So the day loops were hot, to say the least. It was a struggle, a lot of sweating. I did wear sunscreen, missed a couple of little spots, as I've finding out today. Look a bit lobstery in a couple of areas. But yeah, hot sort of sums up how it was during the day. As you can see, it's pretty open through here. It's a pretty flat loop. One of the biggest problems is debris on the track. You can sort of see a bit, and you'll see a bit along the way. But the problems are the bits you can't see. So we're talking about broken sticks. Now, not necessarily the long sticks, but short sticks of only a couple of centimetres long and, maybe a centimetre and a half, even 2 centimetres round. When you hit those, it really shunts the bike. And I did a lot of shunted around during the day, so you can imagine how bad it was at night. You just sort of got to relax, and when it happens, go with it. Try not to stiffen up. Just go with the bike. So, here we go out. We just hit along the side of the river here. It's the river to the left. Pretty open through this section. Now, I'll talk more about wildlife of a night time a bit further on, but it was pretty hectic. The loop itself is 12.3 or 12.4 kilometres. And I had my car parked in a car park along the loop with lots of supplies, which was really helpful. I had, supplies, I took 7 ham sandwiches. I think I ate 4 in the end. Charlie brought me a pizza for dinner, I had half of that. I had 2 litres of chocolate milk in the fridge, and there's not a lot left, so I'd probably had over 1.5 litres of chocolate milk. A lot of water, I don't know how much water to be honest, and it was about the only drinks, water. I just drank water actually, and the chocolate milk. Powerade, sorry, I had 2 bottles of Powerade, I think, or 3, 2 I think, during the night, day and night. I had a couple of salt tablets, thanks to Jeremy, because I'd forgotten to bring them. I didn't think I'd cramp because I wasn't going all that hard, and for the most part I didn't, but at about the time Jeremy turned up, I did have some slight cramping in my hamstrings going on. So that was great, thanks Jeremy. People did loops with me, so Bobby did a loop first up, Charlie did 3 loops the first day, and then she's with me now on this video loop of the last loop. Maddie and Dean ran a loop, so I think I did 2 loops during their run. And Jeremy came out at 10 o'clock at night and did 2 loops, and it was a godsend. I was struggling at 10 o'clock for quite a few different reasons, and Jeremy turning up to do the 2 loops with me was an absolute godsend. It just gave me a second wind that got me through the entire night after that. So, yeah, again, thanks Jeremy, Maddie and Dean, Bobby and Charlie, all of you for coming and doing a loop, or 2 or 4. So as you can see, the path, it's bitumen. Most of it is a few concrete sections and a couple of short gravel sections. Again, pretty flat, some small ups and downs, but generally pretty flat. Now, the other thing I did was power. I wasn't trying to go fast. It wasn't for time. It was no race. It was literally just I wanted to survive as much as I could during the 24 hours. I ended up doing 15.5 hours in the saddle, and my last 2 laps, I'll put the data on the screen now, but my last 2 laps were my fastest, and I was really happy with that at the end of the 24 hours I still had stamina to push out some reasonable watts. I'm not talking race watts or anything, but yeah, I pumped out some reasonable watts in the last 2 laps. I was really happy with that. And in fact, it was the last 60 kilometres, so 4 or 5 laps, whatever that equates, brain's not working great, were much higher watts than the rest of the whole rides. This was also the first time I'd ridden my bike, so it's the Trek Damani, as pictured there. So first ride since I'd had a professional bike fit on my Cervelo and the Damani a week ago, and yeah, it went all right. I noticed there was a difference at the start of the ride for sure. I was a bit unsure whether I'd fit into it okay, but apparently I did. So yeah, no, it felt good in the end. You see the river again there on the left. The bike went well, no issues, no mechanicals, no flat tyres, no nothing. I did check it out quite thoroughly beforehand. If anyone's interested, I'm running GP 5000 32mm tyres. The wheels were on that reserve carbon 40/44s. I did have clip-on aero bars and a aero luggage rack and dry bag to keep stuff in, so spares, bandages, first aid, all that sort of stuff, just in case something happened out on the track. Again, didn't need any of it, which was great. Had one close call to a stack, and it was while I was stopped talking to Maddie and Dean, went to get on. I was in the wrong gear, I was off the road, went through a gully, and I didn't clip in time coming out the other side and stopped dead halfway up the steep bit of the gully and had to get out of the pedal rather quickly, or I was going to fall down and they were going to laugh at me, but it didn't happen. I pulled it off just. So yeah, no, bike went great. Zero issues again. I've said that a couple of times, I know. I'm a little bit tired and delirious, so bear with me. Okay, so nighttime. There'll be more coming up, but nighttime, you can see it's quite thick forested. Now, for reference, this track is completely unlit. So at night, we're talking pitch black. And it's a very, very heavily wildlife populous area. Very, very populous. I can't tell you totals of everything. I just couldn't keep up. But there was a couple of snakes, foxes, endless hares and rabbits, and kangaroos. Oh, here's a gravel section, actually. And there's a little light to the right in this water here to the right. There was a light, and I didn't realise what it was. Well, I knew it was a light, but I didn't know what was causing it. But it was flashing during the night. And it was a bit eerie until I worked out during the day what it was. It was just a washed up, something from the river, I'm guessing, in the floods, maybe washed up and it's still there. It's just a blinking light, and I assume it was meant to be in the river, I'm not sure. Wildlife, kangaroos. Oh, my God, the amount of kangaroos. For the most part, we worked okay with each other. I did a lot of talking to the kangaroos, and I mean a lot. I talked to nearly every mob of kangaroos at some point during the night. Mostly it was just calm down, old fella or young fella or something. It's all right, just sit there. I'm just going to buzz by. You'll be fine, don't move. And they'd start hopping and say, oi, just pull up. Just if you wait calmly, I'm just going to slip on by and you'll be fine to go about your business. There was a lot of that. And I mean, it's a lot. And the other thing were deer. I would have seen north of 20 deer. One was a really large buck. We came pretty close to face. But the closest was a young fallow doe, just in one of the river sections, had gone to the left to take a drink of water. And as she was just about to go down the bank, she's heard me coming and freaked out, turned around and ran across to the right of the screen and was only a few feet in front of me at that point. I did have a couple of close kangaroo interactions like that too, and in the dark, because I only had pretty average cycling lights, to say the least. And there was the other problem I had. The battery in my car didn't charge. I'd had the car under cover, and the battery that runs the fridge and what would have been my charging ports for lights and stuff, I'd had it under cover for a couple of days, so the battery in this heat was drained quite heavily. Then I was parked in the shade, and anyway, my mistake, but the battery never got a chance to charge. It was down to 3 volts. Luckily, the Engel fridges are awesome and will run a battery to virtually 0. So the fridge did manage to keep going, but I couldn't charge anything, which was painful because I was worried my Garmin's were going to go flat. I was wearing a watch and running the Edge computer. I had them both going together in case something went wrong with one, and the watch actually auto-saved 142 kilometres, and I'd forgot to run it on a couple of laps. And thankfully, the Edge recorded everything in one solid go, and that's the Strava details you can see. I deleted all the other ones once they were loaded because they were not necessary. So, yeah, the wildlife was hectic. Again, let me emphasise, look how thick, and it does get thicker, you'll see in places, but look how thick wooded it is, and in places very long grass. And these corners, it's slippery, real slippery on the inside of that corner, and there's lots of corners with loose gravelly sections on them. And in the dark, it is pitch black, barring the light coming off your bike. And so I only had pretty basic lights. I use them to ride to work, and they're fine because I know the road. They give me some light, but for this, better lights would have been better. But the amount of lights would have needed to deal with the amount of wildlife and everything out there, it's just not practical. And that made it really difficult. And that was where Jeremy came in. When he came in at 10 o'clock, I'd done a couple of night loops, and the noises in the bush going past, what they are, deer, roos, foxes, it could be anything. Generally, nothing's going to attack. A deer might run into you. It happens. It's pretty rare. You get kangaroos will arc up in anger. There were some really big buck kangaroos too. I'm talking, would have stood taller than me. A couple of real big ones, but they were fine. We had no dramas. There was one at one point I thought may have been getting ready to stand up and say, "Oi, I'm sick of you doing loops in my territory. You're annoying me every 30 to 50 minutes or so. You're starting to drive me crazy." But he was all right in the end. He just had a bit of a stand and a bit of a look at me, and away he went. The runner going the other way, it was pretty quiet because the weather was so warm. I literally saw no one all night. When Jeremy turned up at 10 o'clock, did 2 laps with him, I saw no one from probably half an hour before sunset till a good half an hour after sunrise. I saw nobody at all, literally no one. So it was sort of good in a way. I had the place to myself. Not that there's any dramas with other people using it. That's what it's there for. It's a great little circuit, and a lot of people use it, and it is fantastic. Okay, so you can see it's pretty bushy through here. You've got a fence on the right, thick scrub on the left. It does make it quite interesting when you run into wildlife that aren't expecting you. Again, there would be some people that do this overnight, but I'd say it's pretty rare. And the kangaroos spend a lot of time on that track and very close to it, and so do the deer. A couple of wallabies. Wallabies can be fairly unpredictable. They're only small, but fairly unpredictable. But again, there was no major issues. I would challenge anybody to do this of a night time, not to do one lap, but do one lap, experience everything I experienced, and go back for a second. I haven't looked how many I did. I would have done, I'd say, 8 laps during the night, I would expect. Might have been 7. I don't honestly know. I did have more idle times during the night, contemplating what the hell am I doing here. Never got to sleep. I did sit in my car, but it's a single cab ute. I never got to lay the seats back to even contemplate falling asleep. I closed my eyes and tried to rest, but it didn't really happen. I'll play a small section here so you can hear the sounds that I was hearing, the loose bits on the tyres and all that sort of stuff, so you can just hear a bit of what it was like for me. I said by little I mean it wasn't 6 foot long, but geez, it was chunky. Yeah. This corner's a bit how you going. And the big bump leading up to it. Hey? Can't hear. So you can see a few bends and that in the road and some gravelly sections on the bends to keep it interesting, especially in the dark. Entertainment during the night I'd like to talk about. So I bought a book that was recommended to me, not by somebody, just online. Actually, just a quick interruption. See how thick and scrubby it is through here? There was a lot of wildlife through there last night, and I had to ride quite slow through this section because there was kangaroos jumping out left, right and centre. Back to the end time. So on Apple Books or Audible, whichever platform it was, recommended a book I might like. It was Mike Riley's book. Now, for most people who know Iron Man will know who Mike Riley is. He was known as the voice of Iron Man. He recently retired. I don't have a long history of Iron Man. So two things about Iron Man that people who have a long history of Iron Man, Kona is the goal and Mike Riley is the voice. I only know who Mike Riley is because I've heard people talk about him on podcasts and that. Other than that, I actually wouldn't have known who he was. So when the book came up as recommended, I thought, I don't know, what do I want to read a Mike Riley book for? I don't really even know who he is. I don't know anything about him. But I bought the book. And I've got to say, it was one of the best decisions of my life. I started listening to it on a ride a few weeks ago. And I listened to about an hour and a half or so of it, and I had to stop because I knew I was going to do this long ride. And I thought, this book is so good, I want it for when things are going to be tough. So it's not an autobiography. I'm not going to spoil the book. I highly recommend it more than you could ever imagine. I had no affiliation. I don't even know who Mike Riley was until recently. But the book is if you've got any interest in doing an Ironman or you've done an Ironman, it's just amazing. Even for people in any endurance sport, to be honest, would really, and people who like reading would get a lot out of it. There's one chapter in particular I can't talk about it. It'd break me to try and talk about it. It was a tough lab listening to this one particular chapter. It was tough for a lot of reasons, but the end of the chapter broke me, really broke me. But there were some really, really good chapters of people who have endured some of the worst hardships, physical, mental, everything you can imagine, who've gone on to take on Iron Man and change their lives. For a couple of people that were really sick, a couple of them were given virtual death sentences from doctors, and Iron Man saved many of their lives, quite literally. And for a couple, it prolonged their lives. And there's some stories of some older people doing Ironmans well into their 70s, which is just mind-blowing. Anyway, the take of it is Mike Riley's book. So the book's called Mike Riley, Finding My Voice. Actually one little thing. Mike Riley called out one day many, many years ago, just randomly called out to somebody, said he was going to do it, I think, from memory in the book. He called out the guy's name and said, "You are an Iron Man." And that was the first time. It wasn't planned to be what it is today. And apparently the crowd cheered and whatnot, and it became a thing for everybody. So every person that finishes an Iron Man within cut-off gets their name, and you are an Iron Man. And for those of us chasing that dream, that's going to be one of the best moments of my life later this year. When I hear that, I'm literally on the toughest of days. I think about what that's going to feel like the day it happens, and I can't wait. So a bit about the background and why the ride happened, I guess. If you know me, you'll know I get some stupid ideas in my head. And anyway, if you know me, you'll understand. It was literally, I just driving one day, which I do a lot of because that's what I do for a living, and spent too much time to think, which really makes my spare time interesting when I get all that time to think, and I think weird things a lot. Anyway, I this particular day I just thought, I wonder what it would be like to ride 24 hours straight. And so that thought led into, I wonder what it'd be like to do the same loop over and over. Mentally, how difficult would it be? So, yeah, that's what led to doing it where I did it. The reason for the first is not a New Year's resolution for me. I've been on my journey for 19 months now. I suppose I could talk about that a bit in a minute too, couldn't I? So I've been on my journey for 19 months, and yeah, I just wanted to do it. And yeah, if people see me doing hard stuff and get motivated to do it, or not necessarily do that, but do something for themselves better, then that's terrific. It was tough. It could have been tougher if I'd pushed a bit harder. As I say, I only spent 15 and a half hours in the saddle. I'm, in some respects, a little bit disappointed I didn't spend longer in the saddle, but it was never meant to be super epic ride. It was just to see, get a bit of a taste for it, to be honest. It is more than anything. And that's what I did. It doesn't matter what I do, to be honest. Every achievement I've made in my journey, I've always looked back and thought, yeah, I could have done it better. I could have gone harder. It doesn't matter what I do. That's who I am. I'm never completely satisfied. Probably a bad thing. My journey, for those that don't know. 19 months ago, I was 116 kilos, which gave me a BMI of 42.2, which is morbidly obese. And it is hard to say even today. I've since then lost 36 kilos. I'm floating around the 80 mark. Although, interesting, I'm a couple of kilos heavier now than before I started the ride, which is interesting, given how many calories I burned. That means I probably stayed well hydrated, which is a good thing. Anyway, morbidly obese and miserable. Hated waking up every day. In fact, if I'm being completely honest, I hoped most days that I wouldn't wake up. And I got to a point where if I didn't do something drastic, I was going to take steps to make that happen. So it was do or die, literally. So yeah, anyway, we took the steps, we're on the journey, we've lost some weight, still more to lose. They say it's easy to lose weight, which it's not, but it's easier to lose weight than to maintain weight loss. That's probably true in a lot of respects. It'd be very easy to put it on again. I have bounced up and down a little bit, nothing drastic, but I can see how easy it is to put it all back on. So yeah, I battle with it a lot still. That's why I push myself so hard. I did 192 days from the start of my journey. I did 194 days straight training. Didn't miss a day. It was my entire life. Every morning, my day did not start unless I did a minimum of 15 minutes HIIT and 10 minutes stretching. That was a bare minimum. Most days was 30 minutes exercise, 15 minutes stretching, yoga, that sort of stuff, and often quite longer. So that was how the journey began. Then I ended up in hospital, gallbladder. I had to have that removed. I got back on the wagon pretty quickly after that. Some would say way too quick. In fact, I did park run 7 days after my operation, or 6 days, 7 days. And I was exercising 3 days, just on the bike, training, nothing strenuous. But I was exercising 3 days after my operation, and then I bulged 2 discs in March, and that really knocked me around. In fact, I'd never really recovered from that all year. I never quite trained as hard and intense and as often since that. December, I've pushed a bit harder and hope to maintain a higher regime, brought on by an injury, funnily enough. So I've tore a meniscus in my left knee 6 weeks ago to the day I started this, and yes, it's still giving me grief. And yep, like many of you say, what the hell are you doing riding 360 kilometres with a torn meniscus? That's who I am. I need to be pushing boundaries, and sometimes I make mistakes, sometimes I don't. I am seeing a physio and a doctor about this for the first time in my life. No, it's not the first time. It's probably the second time in my life I'm seeking medical help for conditions that I would normally just deal with myself. I spoke to the physio about this challenge. He was of the opinion I should wait another 6 weeks at least for healing, which hasn't happened yet. I did say, and he probably guessed from my attitude that I was probably not going to listen, but I said, well, what if I do it? I negotiated. I should negotiate with my doctor about getting back into training after my gallbladder. Luckily for me, she was a marathon runner and understood my mindset. She didn't agree with me going back so soon, but she understood my mindset. Anyway, the physio, that's what they do. He's a sports physio, so he understands as well. I said, how about I do it? I won't push hard. Again, that's part of the reason why I didn't go super hard. And if the pain's bad, I'll pull up. I don't think he was convinced that I would pull up. To be honest, I wasn't either. But I didn't go super hard. A little bit in the last few laps, as we discussed earlier, but I didn't go too hard. And the pain, it's a little bit sore at the moment, I won't lie. And I did take some anti-inflammatories prior. I need to take some now. I did do parkrun first. I will be doing parkrun tomorrow. A little side note here, I've missed the loop. I decided I was going to get close to... I had no serious distance goal. I sort of roughly wanted 360, and when I was going to be very close to it, it was going to be about 350 something. So I had to do this little bit extra here just to ensure I was going to get to 360, which I did, 360.3 or something it turned out. So that's why I missed the loop. Some will realise that knowing the area, some won't. You'll see me do a U-turn shortly, but that's why we're out here. Torn meniscus. I have trained more since I got the torn meniscus in the more days in a row than prior. I've been doing a lot of strength training, focused heavily on trying to build the muscles around the knee to reduce the chance of injury later, and that's going to be one of my big focuses this year leading up to Ironman, because there's nothing's going to stop me from doing that and finishing that. Well, I can't say nothing. There's probably things out there that could physically stop me, but we're going to do everything we can to ensure that doesn't happen. So, I've been doing a lot of training, strength and yoga and mobility, stretching will become quite heavy focus, which is really difficult because I'm not a very good runner, and I'm definitely not a very good swimmer, although swimming could nearly do as much as I like anyway. It's not a super strenuous activity. But I'm not a very good runner, so I feel I need to run more because I'm not very good at it. I need to swim more because I'm not very good at it. While cycling is my best of the 3 disciplines, I still don't feel I'm very good at that either, so I need to cycle way more. Time, I work 50, 55-hour weeks. I travel over an hour to work and back each day. Time is difficult for me and for a lot of people, but time's not something I have a lot of. So training every day and long training sessions is hard, and adding more is going to be tough. It's going to be a tough year, but That's by no means an excuse or anything like that. It's a reality that we're going to face head on. We're going to get done. And if this was easy, everyone would be doing it. There's a reason only, I think it's 0.01% of 1% or something like that. There's a very tiny amount of people will ever do an Ironman. I hope to be one of those in October. There's 1% of people do marathons, they say these days. They become quite popular now. To do, the Ironmans a lot less. I've done a 70.3, few Olympics, few sprints. And the goal is the big one. And hopefully it won't be one and done. There you go. There's a little insight to the future. Don't know how many I'll do, but I'd like to do all the Australian ones eventually and the New Zealand ones. So there's 4. There's a challenge, you're going to do one in 28, so there's 5. And elite, do one in the high country that's considered the toughest one in Australia. It would be by far. So, anyway, that's a long way off. We're just got to get through October. All right, we're nearly done with the ride. I'm just going to stop waffling on and just go with raw sound for the finish of the ride.
Final lap, final minute. You done it? "24 hours straight." How do you feel?
Pretty good considering. I don't actually feel too bad.
Nice.
This is the most important bit. Making sure it uploads.
Strava. Just for proof, everyone. 9 o'clock.
Alright, let's see. You should take a photo of this just. Oh, that's just busy. Come back. Where were you? Okay, let's press play again quickly so we've got proof. Most important bit. Save. Saving.
That's going to take a long time to download because a lot of hours, a lot of kilometres. How many kilometres did you get?
360.
Whoa.
And it says I only need 36 hours recovery.
Only?
No, that's all it needs.
I did 4 laps and it said 72 hours.
Did it really?
Yep.
36 hours. 36 hours, easy effort, recommended. Not bad. How about we make it 23 hours and I'll do park run? What do you reckon, Garmin? You don't get a choice. Park run in 23 hours. Park run to start the ride. So I did park run and then 360 kilometres. We'll have 23 hours off and we'll do park run again.
Good job. Alrighty. So finished the ride. Damien's last lap. I managed to get in front. He'll be coming down shortly. He did 24 hours riding around Wonga wetlands. For him, it wasn't about doing it for a purpose other than proving that you can show up for yourself and proving that you can do hard shit. Because I only did 4 laps of that and it was tough. So I think, I don't know what his kilometre is, I'm sure he'll tell you the rest of this, but super stoked and super proud of him. You know, he set himself a pretty hard challenge. Some thought maybe unrealistic, but he showed up for himself and he did hard shit.